Hey, everybody. So glad to have you on today's episode of Over 50 and Flourishing. Today's episode really is about flourishing in so many ways. My guest today is a dear friend, but she's also an incredible role model. She is somebody who has been in the fashion industry ever since 2000. Her name is Elaine Turner. She had a fashion lifestyle brand here in Houston, Texas, that was launched in April of 2000. Her goal was simple, basically use the language of design to create elegant and affordable fashion. But she also went through some pretty difficult times in midlife, a lot of personal decisions and shifting that took place that really enabled her to look within and to discover her own self-worth. And that's what she wants to talk to all of us about today, is about worthiness, the ability to be able to dig deep when times get tough, and not to forget that we are creative and we have passions and we need to be able to bring those to light. I'm excited for you to meet my guest today, Elaine Turner. Hey there, let's talk about something that has become an absolute game changer in my daily routine, Puri. And guess what? Now is the absolute perfect time to dive in. Ensuring our bodies get the right vitamins and good nutrients is absolutely crucial, but are we really conscious of what we're putting into our systems? Well, with Puri, I can confidently say that I am. Go ahead, take the next step to support your health with Puri. I worked with Puri on this amazing deal just for my listeners, 20% off site-wide. All you have to do is go to my special URL, that's puri.com/over50, and use my promo code OVER50. This even applies to the already discounted subscriptions. You'll get almost a third off the price at PUORI.com/over50. Don't wait. Use promo code OVER50 at puri.com/over50. If you're like me, you've probably received deodorant as a gift and maybe even thought, really? But hold on, because I've got something that is about to change the game. We're talking Lumi. Lumi is not just a deodorant, it is a whole body solution. Whether it's your armpits, underneath your chest, the thighs, anywhere else, Lumi has you covered. Lumi Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash and, of course, deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for my listeners, new customers get $5 off Lumi Starter Pack with our exclusive code and link. And for a limited time, returning customers can get their $5 off of their next purchase of $30 or more. Use code OVER50 at lumedeodorant.com, LUMEDEODORANT.com. Do not let the holiday stress get to your pits. Lumi keeps you calm, cool, and collected. I have to take a moment to gush about my love for Jenni Kayne. Honestly, it's become a bit of an obsession. The minimalist, effortlessly refined style is just what I need and want in my life. I cannot get enough of this wonderful taupe sweater by Jenni Kayne. It sort of has that never want to take off quality that we all crave. The aesthetic, the comfort, it's all there. In any season, but especially this one, their sweaters are the it item. The Flynn cashmere sweater, my latest go-to. It is the perfect wear with anything V-neck sweater. Gift yourself and your loved ones the best gift of all, Jenni Kayne. Our listeners get 15% off your first order when you use our code Dominique at jennikayne.com. That's 15% off your first order at JENNIKAYNE.com and use code Dominique. Let getting dressed be one less thing you have to worry about. So share your story. I know you through different ways. First of all, I knew your original store, used to shop there, loved it, loved all your cork. And you were the cork. There was lots of cork. I'm like, Elaine loves cork. Also, my stepdaughter at the time was very, very friendly with your son.
Yes.
So I would see him in the house a lot.
Yes.
And then you and I really, really connected at the Women's Midlife Wellness Retreat in Austin back in May.
Yes.
And you were brought in as a speaker because you speak about worthiness. So take us full circle. I just dropped a whole load before we even go there, before I even let you tell your story. Since this podcast is called Over 50 and Flourishing, I want to know how you plan on flourishing this week.
My present moment flourishing.
Yes.
I think what I'm being super intentional about lately is staying in the present moment and not throwing myself in the past or even sort of the anticipation of the future, because that brings so much anxiety. Yeah. And with this new venture that I've launched, so I'm every day, my mantra is just stay here now. And so I think keeping that quiet time, making sure that I'm building the boundaries that I need to build so that I'm not completely depleted by this new business and everything that's going on. And we'll talk more about that and my mother and all those things. But I think I'm flourishing by being really, really aware of my own self-care. That's probably it.
That's good. I read Jesus Calling every morning. It's such a great devotional book. And there are so many passages that are written to being present. And that oftentimes we tend to project the future. We try to, prognosticate what's going to happen. And there's so much fear and worry that comes with that. And we oftentimes forget God in that picture and that He's going to be there when we step outside of today. So I love how you rein that in and you bring it right back to now, because it is all that we can handle.
Totally. Otherwise, you kind of end up spiraling if you get to the future and anticipate. And so you're right. I think it's that surrender to something bigger than yourself that's ultimately in control. And I think I've had a long road getting here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been bumpy, right? I think for a long time was sort of externalizing and hustling for my worth, if you would, and I was younger and I was building this, fashion empire in Texas and thinking I had to be and do everything. I had to be it all, right, for everybody. And so I think this has been a true journey of mine to return to the self and to surrender to something outside of myself.
Yeah.
So.
And that's a big epiphany to hit. And it does take time, and it takes wisdom, and it takes a lot of epic fails.
Yeah. Lots of flat on your ass moments.
Exactly. We've had plenty.
Yeah, totally.
So let's talk about that. Tell me about your desire to get into fashion, how you started that business. And the reason why I do want to focus quite a bit on business is because there are a lot of women in midlife who are at this interesting phase of, I want to do something with my life. I have creativity. I have passion. How do I make it work? How do I make money doing what I love to do?
Right. That's, I think you're right. I think that there's so many women who are at that transition point where, whether they're married or not, or they have children or not, we kind of reach a point where things really start to shift, right? Yes. And a lot of us start to shed old identities, old roles that we've played, even through motherhood or being married or whatever it looks like. And so I do think that we all share a common narrative in midlife of like, well, wait, who am I now? And what's next for me? And so, my story is, again, it's been an evolution and a transformation, but I knew I wanted to do fashion since I was a little girl. Yeah. And I come from a family of entrepreneurs who really encouraged that for me. I mean, they saw that I expressed myself through what I wore. Yeah. And so it was constant with my mom and dad saying, oh, you've got to do something one day, and how you express yourself. And it was in a deeper way. It wasn't just about fashion and trend. It was really, both of my parents are, they've shaped me to be who I am. And they both really understood fashion as really another form of communication.
It sure is.
It wasn't just about consumerism or, you have to be the latest and greatest. It was really like, gosh, she puts a lot of pride in how she puts herself together.
It's art.
Yes. Yeah. I believe that. And I know it gets a bad rap for some because of, the way the modern era of fast fashion. And I think for a lot of people, there's a real scarcity undertone with fashion because they feel like, they can't keep up with the trends or, the expense of it, or it's, or even like the fast fashion people of the world, it's like, oh, it's just turning over. You feel like, the jeans you wore yesterday are out. And, and so I do think that that's valid to point out. But for me, it was much deeper. It was really just, I wanted to spread spread beauty and help women sort of see what they could become through fashion, kind of honoring their individuality and honoring even a part of themselves. I definitely see with women an art of discovery in my stores where they go, I never would have thought I would do that or wear that.
Or pair that.
Yeah. But then they realize, oh, I can. I can do this. So it's, for me, it was always a deeper message. And I really think ultimately, my foundation was about really bringing women together and connecting and inspiring and educating one another. I always used my stores as that third place to give back to the community and to give back to each other. And so my journey really just led me to, I went to New York. I married my husband in New York, or I met him and then married him here. And, he was my partner in the business, and we ultimately grew it. I mean, I was known for my leather goods, so I did handbags and shoes, but then we did eventually branch into apparel and jewelry. So we ended up designing all of our own categories. And at one time I had 12 stores. I had a kind of a pop-up shop. I mean, it was beautiful, but in New York on Madison Avenue. And then I had stores all throughout Texas. And so we really kind of leaned in and we went for it, and it was a beautiful dream. I mean, I now look back on it and I know there was a lot of challenge in it and a lot of change, but I still look back with immense gratitude that I was even able to engage in something like that. And all the women who worked for me and all the stores that we manifested together, the beauty. I mean, there was a lot of beauty in it, but it did reach a point where about 5 years ago, I started to realize that I had that flat on my ass moment where I was like, look, I just am not able to have it and be it and do it all right now at the same time.
Was it just bleeding you? What was happening?
So there was a multitude of things happening. So I had invested all of our resources into our brick and mortar stores that we loved and we believed in, which thankfully I think there's a little bit of a rebound effect with all of that, but we can talk about that. But at that time, digital was becoming massive. So my competitors were just so, they were building these huge websites, and women were saying, look, the ease and convenience of a digital platform, we don't want to park at City Center. We don't want to come into the store as much. We want that experience. We want ease, convenience. We want to be able to return online, all those
all
things.
E-commerce that took over.
Yeah, it just completely took over. And it took over to be completely vulnerable with you, Dominique, quicker than I had imagined. I thought, well, this will take several years. The Amazon age is real. I mean,
I
know. We were like, wait.
And COVID hit the gas on that.
Oh, gosh. I mean, it just took over. Like, my husband and I were like, oh, my God, we can't even keep up. And so that was happening. So it was becoming more challenging in the store. And then also we were going through a lot of personal change where I have an autistic daughter who's now 19. She was kind of heading into those teen years and really coming into a deep awareness of her differences. And so she was starting to suffer with a lot of mental health issues, isolation, loneliness, anxiety, school refusal. So at the same time that things became very challenging with the business, I was also in deep suffering, witnessing my daughter starting to spiral. And obviously there's nothing more important to me in the world than being a mother and showing up in the best way that I can. And so I had to really look at that with an honest lens. And then my son, who's a huge stabilizing force and a huge gift in our family, and for not just my husband and I, but for my daughter, he left for college. Yeah. And both of my parents were diagnosed with terminal illnesses at the exact time. My father is now at the end stage in hospice care here in Houston of Alzheimer's. He's had the disease for 5.5 years. And my mom is also in stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. And so I think I just surrendered, Dominique.
You had
and
to.
Said, God, I can't show up in all these ways. And I had to have faith that there was going to be that light and that knowledge to guide me through that. But I ultimately made the decision to close the company, take a step back, and just now have re-entered. So we're almost at 5.5 years. And I really had this deep understanding of losing my own identity. Not only was I losing the people around me, but I had also lost who am I in all this. If I'm not a fashion designer,
right? What am
if
I?
I'm not,
if I'm not a news anchor, what am I? Hello.
That's why I think you and I have had so much.
I know. We
synergy.
have a lot in common.
Yes.
A lot
so
of change.
that led me to this new journey of worthiness. That's how it all kind of started.
Yeah, I want to dive into that a lot more. I think there is such opportunity here. I think oftentimes we as women can be subjected to what seems like an absolute life implosion, and we say to ourselves, "Why? What have I? Why is this happening to me? What have I done to deserve all of this happening at once?" But through time, space, and distance, we get perspective and we get an understanding of it. And that's where the clarity lies. And I want to talk more about that with you right after this break as we thank our sponsors.
Yeah.
Hey there, let's talk about something that has become an absolute game changer in my daily routine. Puri. Now, you've likely caught wind of me just raving about them lately, and there's good reason behind it. Puri isn't just a brand, it is a commitment to well-being that I am fully on board with. And trust me, you're going to love what they have to offer if you haven't experienced it already. And guess what? Now is the absolute perfect time to dive in. Ensuring our bodies get the right vitamins and good nutrients is absolutely crucial, but are we really conscious of what we're putting into our systems? Well, with Puri, I can confidently say that I am. Personally, I've integrated Puri's CP1 pure collagen peptides into my routine, and it's been a game changer. Collagen is vital for joint, bone, and muscle health, especially as we age. And Puri makes it so easy to incorporate it into any beverage, hot or cold. And let me tell you about Puri's CP3 Beauty Collagen. This lemon-flavored magic has been a blessing for my hair, skin, and nails. And what's even better, no artificial ingredients, none. It is packed with hyaluronic acid, biotin, vitamin B6, zinc, and vitamin C, a powerhouse for natural beauty from within. Founded in Denmark in 2009, Puri stands for its commitment to food safety and standards. It receives top marks annually from the supplement unit of the Danish food authorities. Now, what sets Puri apart here? Every batch undergoes third-party testing against more than 200 contaminants, and they proudly publish the results all online. So if you ask me, that's peace of mind that you just can't put a price on. No hidden or harmful ingredients to worry about at all. Go ahead, take the next step to support your health with Puri. I worked with Puri on this amazing deal just for my listeners, 20% off site-wide. All you have to do is go to my special URL, that's puri.com/over50, and use my promo code over50. This even applies to the already discounted subscriptions. You'll get almost a third off the price at puri.com/over50. Don't wait, use promo code over50 at puri.com/over50. If you're like me, you've probably received deodorant as a gift and maybe even thought, really? But hold on, because I've got something that is about to change the game. We're talking Lumi. Now, Lumi isn't your average deodorant. It's kind of like a winter wonderland for your armpits and beyond. So I've recently had the pleasure of trying out Lumi's whole body deodorant, and can I just tell you, it is a game changer. Created by an OB-GYN, this product is not just for the armpits, but it's for use everywhere that you might want to stay fresh. And with more than 275,000 five-star reviews, it's safe to say this stuff works wonders. Lumi is not just a deodorant, it is a whole body solution. Whether it's your armpits, underneath your chest, the thighs, anywhere else, Lumi has you covered. Formulated with mandelic acid, it is a pre-odorant, stopping odor before it even starts. And with no baking soda or parabens, it's pH balanced for safe use below the belt. Lumi Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash and, of course, deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for my listeners, new customers get $5 off Lumi Starter Pack with our exclusive code and link. And for a limited time, returning customers can get their $5 off of their next purchase of $30 or more. Use code OVER50 at lumideodorant.com, LUMEDEODORANT.com. Do not let the holiday stress get to your pits. Lumi keeps you calm, cool, and collected. Welcome back to Over 50 and Flourishing. My guest, or I should say guests, Elaine Turner and Oscar, who has now shown up. If you're watching this on video, this is the best lapdog he can do. But I really wanted to say that as a disclaimer, because if anybody hears heavy breathing, I didn't want it to think that it was either you or me. It's like, I love you,
It's
but
the
wow.
dog. Yeah, I know. What's happening
What's
there?
going on over there?
Oh.
I know. He's a sweetheart. You know, it's so funny and you're very, very sweet to be so vulnerable and transparent about your life story. We were talking during the commercial break just about social media in general and how it is so frustrating when everybody just portrays this wonderful, perfect, beautiful life where nothing happens and nothing goes wrong. And you're just looking at it like, I call BS on that because it's not possible.
It's not.
You were saying there are no straight lines. No. Life is a zigzag. And it is unfortunate that, and I will say, I was guilty of that in the past. I was, like everybody else. Great marriage, great this, sure, everything's wonderful, everything, until it's not. And then people are like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
Why wasn't it wonderful?
Right,
and
exactly.
I thought, no, if you're going to be on these platforms, aside from promoting a business, which is one thing, but if you're going to be on just as a person or to inspire, it's like you talk about worthiness, you've got to be willing to show vulnerability.
100%. And I look at social media as this, I always tell my son, I'm like, just remember that as you scroll, you're scrolling an illusion. So it doesn't mean that you have to, not have it in your life, because there's a tool and it serves a purpose and there's information and there's also a lot of inspiration. So, sure. And I use it, you for my business and also to inspire women. But I just think it's really important to stay aware and mindful of what you're looking at isn't necessarily based on reality. Because if our children believe that, and I think that's what's led to so much of these sort of this epidemic of mental health issues. I know, is he burping?
No, he never
squeaking.
Plays with a toy.
He's squeaking
until I record a podcast, and then he decides the squeaky toy is where it's at. Elaine, I kid you not, he never touches that toy. Poor Courtney is now going to lure him to the bedroom.
Yes. So cute.
Okay. So anyway, back to reality.
I know. No more illusion. Yeah.
No more illusion. Yeah.
So I think it is. I think it's just a matter of really communicating. Just be really aware of what you're looking at and don't buy into the comparison game, because life is not what you're seeing on a screen.
Yes.
Yeah. Those are just flash moments that aren't based on reality. So, but it is what it is, and we have to live with it.
Right.
So,
Or we can lean into it, and then we can be those voices of reason and the voices of the other side when it's not so great, or whatever to present balance. Before we went into the commercial break, you were sharing your story of closing down your business, dealing with your daughter and her processing of autism, and you as a mom having to handle that and make parental decisions, and then your parents being sick. Walk us through that. I mean, that, Elaine, and I know you, and I have seen days, and I'm like, man, this girl is going through a lot.
I know, and continues
to go through a lot.
Know. I do think it was interesting in that so much kind of happened at the same time, which was real interesting. And I think when I mentioned to you that surrender, I think I realized, Dominique, that when I felt like, look, I am no longer in control of these things that are happening outside of me. And then I realized kind of the only way back to myself was really understanding that I could no longer hustle for my self-worth. And I mean that across all levels, being the best special needs mom, caretaking her, and finding all the answers. I spent hours, with doctors and all the different things that we did that could take us another day to talk about, being the best caretaker to my parents, businesswoman, wife, sister, friend. And I think what led me into this work of worthiness was realizing that radical self-acceptance, and this doesn't happen overnight, but is really the antithesis of that idea of the outside, the hustling for you. I need something external to value me, right? And so once you go from that inside out rather than the outside in, and you start to accept yourself for exactly who you are, I think that's when those God-given attributes begin to bubble up. The resiliency, the courage, the self-compassion, all of those things that had kind of been hidden inside of me because I wasn't able to access them because I wasn't giving myself the grace and the self-compassion to, in a way. I was so busy trying to be and do and show up with perfectionism and people-pleasing that I had lost all my boundaries and all. And so all that awareness, and, you know, I did a little therapy along the way. Led me to really deciding I have to accept the fullness of who I am, all parts of who I am. And when I want to qualify, when I say that, I'm not saying that you just give up and get your Chardonnay out and go, oh, well, no more growing for me.
Right.
I accept myself. In fact, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Once you accept yourself, you're able to adapt and grow from the inside and love yourself through the process instead of the constant hustling outside of yourself. Right.
Yes.
And the shame and the blame and all that. Yeah. And so that's really, self-acceptance is really what's allowed me to grow even more and be more self-aware. We all have challenges. We all have flaws. We all have opportunities. We all have things we wish we did differently or could be different. Right. But that doesn't mean we can't love ourselves from the inside out and grow and do the very best we can. And I think once I started to really engage in that work, that's what really led me to want to communicate to women about really what self-worth means.
I love that.
Really ultimately means that your worth can never be conditional on anything that you've yet to achieve, do, or be, that your worth is ultimately not even given to you. You don't even earn it. It's always been there. And I think that women, it's not about like discovering it. It's really about reclaiming it.
Absolutely.
Right? That it's our right because we're born these divine beings.
Yes, God made us perfkly and wonderfully made
image.
Without having to prove anything or perform.
I'm like, oh, yes. And so when you talk to women about this, you see them ease into their chairs. Like, God, if only I could start to see myself from a perspective of abundance rather than
speak
scarcity.
that over me.
Speak that over me. Yeah. And then I think women start to, if you allow yourself to surrender to that idea, that perspective, then your life will begin to change.
Profoundly. And sometimes it takes implosions. In your case, a trifecta. It was a trifecta in my case too. I'm like, oh, one's not good enough. Let's throw in 3.
One more.
Like one more. Come on. Just hit me. Hit me with your best shot.
In the boxing ring.
Exactly. Let's go. I got you. And sometimes, you know what? We don't have it. And it's in those moments where we grow the most because we're forced to, and maybe you can testify to this too. You can easily get lost in the busyness of what you do.
Totally.
And not the exploration of who you are. And when you stop doing, and it's like in your case, your business, you stopped your business and it forced a complete shift in where your attention went.
Excavation. Internal excavation.
I mean, let's talk about how these are actually opportunities and not setbacks.
Yeah, that's right. And I think now I'm at that place. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It took me a while. I went.
And it sucked. Can we just own it?
I went through the pity.
Yes.
But through a lot of self-work and I'm a big believer in any sorts of therapeutic modalities that work for people. I mean, you and I both, I think, are. For me, it was, obviously talking therapy helped, but also embodied practices. Restorative yoga has helped me immensely, really getting back into my body and not staying so much in my mind. I do a ton of reading, journaling. All of that has helped me immensely. But I think if I said the one thing that has really helped me on my healing journey, it would probably be some of the spiritual practices of the ultimate surrender, because I'm not in control. We are not. We think that we are, and all the doing sort of validates that. The earth world. I mean, we're all in. We live in the West, and but the doing isn't really who you are.
No,
it doesn't really define you, right? And so, I think really allowing myself to surrender to something bigger than me. And not that I've always had a spiritual foundation, but I think I went a lot deeper into that knowing through the challenges that arose for me, that I allowed myself to really say, okay, God, use me.
Yeah. And when you made that shift, what was transpiring in your household? How was the dynamic changing with your daughter, with your husband? How are you managing all of that? Because you're doing all this self-work, right, to rise from the ashes, but at the same time, you're still having to be mom, wife, and
Everything.
caretaker.
I really
Yes.
shifted into a deep caretaking role.
Uh-huh.
I think that I am a pretty open book with my family, and the four of us, I just am convinced we're supposed to be together in this lifetime because it's been such a mountain to climb. But I'm really, really lucky that my life partner kind of leaned in with me and also went on his own journey with his own work and is still doing that. And we both are. And then with my children, you know, I obviously have a much different, unique dynamic with Marley. Okay. But what has ended up happening with Marley through her difficulties is that she ended up transitioning to a therapeutic boarding school outside of Nashville. And that took us a while to find
get there.
that. Yeah,
and that was a hard thing for you to let go of.
You know, I don't want to get too dramatic on the podcast, but it almost killed me.
Yeah.
That of anything by far has been, I think it's the primal, it being a mother is so primal.
That's the ultimate release to be able to say,
to let go.
To let go, that you can better care for her in this environment than I can.
And then realizing that it was exactly what needed to happen. And she's thrived more today than she ever did under my care 24 hours. So that was a huge lesson. And that is a very spiritual lesson.
Bet it is.
Of letting go and really in the most unselfish way of knowing that these people could give her what she needed to thrive. And that has ended up being the result. And I think through Marley, Dominique, I've learned that through her soul, like she has been a reflection back to me through every day of the 19 years that none of us are ever really broken. We have to stop pathologizing ourselves. As women, I think we fall into that. Oh, if this changes, then I'll be okay. And through Marley and her differences and her challenges, I've realized it's really through those challenges, or i.e. brokenness, whatever you want to call it, the wound, that the light and the resilience and the courage and really our ultimate wholeness shows up.
Yes.
It's really in that place.
Of course it is.
And she has been that constant reminder, especially within our family, of like, we're all okay. And it's interesting how someone who has disabilities, I think people don't realize what a beacon of learning. They symbolize something for all of us to see and accept people exactly where they are. And embrace that, right?
And there's so much growth that forces within us because it completely forces us to release that compelling notion that we can affect change. Guess what? You can't in some areas.
That's absolutely right.
Right?
That's
you can try to
right.
inspire, you can try to lead, but ultimately we don't have that kind of power.
We don't. Surrender.
Surrender.
So she's been that for me. That's a
so
huge
great.
blessing.
Yeah.
And I'm very honest when I talk to people about my journey. I do a lot of work with special needs parents, as you know, and, you know, sit on some special needs organizations to help. But I'm very honest about communicating the full spectrum of that experience. That
it's hard.
I can hold gratitude with suffering.
Yes.
And that's the truth. So presenting it one way is not the truth. The truth is it's this full spectrum that, you know, just to be completely vulnerable and transparent, you know, the journey has been a chronic one of stress and deep suffering for all of us. But it's also been where we've all evolved in a way I don't think any of our souls could have recognized we could have evolved to. So it's been both of those things.
Yes. Well, I could assume it could be divisive at times for the family. It could also be a great uniter at times and probably bring you closer because you're having to manage and troubleshoot things at such a heightened level. Honestly, I mean, it is so much work.
So much work when somebody who needs so much more than what we could ever anticipate, just through basic, you know, functioning, right? I mean, through communication, through understanding what it is that she needs in every moment. And having a deep kind of understanding. I was in so much survival mode for so many years with Marley, trying to figure out how to give her what she needed. But my son, on a neurotypical journey, really also having to lean into, well, am I showing up in the right way for him and his journey?
Yes.
And everybody's journey is worthy.
Very unique.
Is their own. Yeah. And so really seeing how he has evolved into the young man that he's become, which more maturity at a younger age, because he kind of had to, because we were dealing, Marley also had a lot of medical problems. She had seizures and she has epilepsy. So we were dealing with inside of ambulances all the time. And he really had to grow up in a way that I think at the time I was kind of living in this, with like blinders on. But now that I see the young man he is sort of beyond his years, because he had to kind of figure it out.
Sure.
Like mom and dad are really in crisis mode with Marley. And so he's kind of, I think it's been a real joy for me to see him say, he figured it out. I mean, I can pay my own rent. I can, he learned to drive right at his 16th. I mean, there was none of this delay, because I think he realized I have to.
I got to step up to the plate. I need to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which might be seen as a burden at that age, at a young age. But then I think as a young boy becomes a man, they so desperately want to be independent. They want to be men. They want to be caretakers. He probably was able to shift all that responsibility. Like you said, I can do these things.
Empowered.
And I'm ahead of my peers.
Yeah.
It was empowering.
It's empowering.
But now you factor all of that into what's going on with your parents.
I know.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, boy, Elaine.
Yeah.
I mean, to have both parents go through end of life care and suffering at the same time. And tell me about your role with all of that and how much you're involved, siblings, the balance, the tension that this, I mean, it's like the pot of stew that we've got going on here.
It is a very complex dynamic.
Yes.
And I also want to tell you how I'm so sorry about your mom. And you and I think, have had a shared understanding of that relationship with our mothers. But, my family, we grew up kind of as a clan. I mean, we were all so close. And my parents were kind of our everything.
Yeah.
So we're all very embedded in their care. I have an older brother and an older sister. I'm actually the baby of the family. But we're all showing up in our own individual way that I think we are owning kind of what we can do. You know what I mean? Like it's very different for each of us. So that part I think has worked out really well. I do think that we all grieve and unravel in our own ways. And I think that's more complex, right? Because, even growing up in the same family, and I don't know if you would agree with this, everybody kind of has their own lens of what they experienced.
Yeah.
So when your parents are suffering, that comes out in unique ways.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Because it's internalized and processed based on your experiences and your emotional IQ. So everybody's reaction to something can be very, very different.
That's big.
Yeah.
I think grief leads into that.
For sure it does. And grieving takes place not only when a parent dies, but when you're losing a parent, especially with Alzheimer's, and they're not who they were. So you're grieving them in life, and then you're having to again grieve them after they've passed.
Slow goodbye.
It is.
The longest goodbye is what they call it.
Truly, the longest.
And I think that anticipatory grief is massive too. I don't think people realize it's like you literally are living in anxiety day to day, the anticipation of what you're witnessing.
Yes.
It's very complex.
Right. And it's a lot to manage. And I'm grateful for your transparency about all of that. There are so many women who are in your shoes, Elaine, and in my shoes, in our shoes. We've been through a lot, but I think we are a testament to resiliency and to really doing the work within so that these things don't bring you down, they don't disable you, they don't ruin you, but you move through and you find a way to come out better on the other side. And so speaking of the other side, we're going to take another quick break to thank our sponsors. And there is another, Elaine, it's not all, I'm going to tell you, this woman.
Just wait.
Just wait. Because there's a side to Elaine you've yet to see. She's amazing. And there's some really cool stuff happening in your life too that is so joyful and so awesome with all that you're having to manage. And I want to talk about that too, because man, talk about the ability to shift and pivot and dance and do a little salsa when you just feel like crawling into bed.
Totally.
So we'll talk about that right after the break.
I have to take a moment to gush about my love for Jenni Kayne. Honestly, it's become a bit of an obsession. The minimalist, effortlessly refined style is just what I need and want in my life. I cannot get enough of this wonderful taupe sweater by Jenni Kayne. It sort of has that never want to take off quality that we all crave. The aesthetic, the comfort, it's all there. In any season, but especially this one, their sweaters are the it item. The Flynn cashmere sweater, my latest go-to. It is the perfect wear with anything V-neck sweater. And don't even get me started on the cashmere half zip. That is a cool everyday staple. Both back in must-have shades, and you betcha they are in my cart already. Now, I've noticed something really special about Jenni Kayne sweaters. Not only do I get a lot of compliments every time that I'm wearing one, but they are so comfortable. Warm, but not too heavy. I feel like I can live in them all season long, and you know what? They also make for a great gift. Jenni Kayne believes in the art of simplicity. Comfort, quality, and timeless design absolutely define their collection. Mix and match effortlessly from classic denim to a simple slip dress, and they've got you covered. Literally. And here is a little secret for you. Their rewards program is truly a game changer. You can earn up to 10% back with every purchase. Joining is free, and the perks, well, they are endless. Just gift yourself and your loved ones the best gift of all, Jenni Kayne. Our listeners get 15% off your first order when you use our code Dominique at jennikayne.com. That's 15% off your first order at JENNIKAYNE.com and use code Dominique. Let getting dressed be one less thing you have to worry about. I've always been on a mission to find ways to make healthy habits just a little bit easier. And one of the habits I've really been focusing on lately is staying hydrated. I mean, we all know that water is vital for our health, with about 60% of our bodies being made up of it. But here's the thing. I have never been a huge fan of tap water. Maybe it's the unknowns, the what ifs, or just a lack of trust. And well, it turns out I'm not alone here. According to the Environmental Working Group, 3 out of 4 homes in America have harmful contaminants lurking in their tap water. That is a pretty sobering thought, especially when you're trying to build healthier habits for yourself and your family. Let me tell you, AquaTrue has really changed things in my household. Their purifiers use a stage 4 reverse osmosis process, removing a whopping 15 times more contaminants than those ordinary pitcher filters. And here's the real kicker. No installation or plumbing required. How convenient is that? Okay, so here are a few key points really that resonated with me, and I think they will with you as well. Firstly, PFAS, those forever chemicals found in almost 45% of U.S. tap water. AquaTrue is certified to kick those contaminants to the curb, providing you with water that is truly pure and safe. Their technology is independently tested to remove more than 80 of the nastiest contaminants. We're talking about things like chlorine, fluoride, arsenic, nitrate, and so much more. And let's talk about those filters. They last from 6 months to 2 years, so no more frequent replacements. Just one set of filters from AquaTrue's classic purifier makes the equivalent of 4,500 bottles of water. 4,500! Imagine the environmental impact you're making while saving yourself some major cash. Personally, I've noticed a few benefits in my life that I'd like to share. I can actually taste the difference compared to my old water filter. And by the way, my tea and my coffee, yeah, they taste so much better too. And you know what's even better? We love our pets. Why give them tap water? Oscar, he's enjoying the AquaTrue water as well. Delivery, by the way, right to my doorstep, a breeze, and setting it up, a piece of cake. No more worries about tap water. I know it's not just filtered, it is purified with AquaTrue. AquaTrue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and even makes for a great gift. Today, my listeners will receive 20% off any AquaTrue purifier. All you have to do is go to aquatrue.com, that's AQUATRU.com, and enter code OVER50 at checkout. That's 20% off any AquaTrue water purifier when you go to aquatrue.com and use code OVER50.
Welcome back to Over 50 and Flourishing. My guest today is such an awesome human, Elaine Turner. She's a fashion designer. She has some really cool stuff happening right now. We've been talking about life. We've been talking about sort of the pits of life and the hard falls that we take and how we have to manage and get through it. But not everything is, wah wah.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God, because I would check out if you know what I'm saying. Thank goodness for the silver
You're right.
linings.
Yeah.
And there are plenty. Some of those silver linings, I would say, were just connecting with like-minded women. It's one of the beautiful things that I've loved about this stage of life, right? These connections and conversations that we have, the honesty, the transparency. Things run deep when you go there.
I totally agree.
And haven't you found that the nature and the quality of friendships lately has just been superior to anything?
Oh my God. And you just saying that retreat we did.
Yeah.
That I feel like meeting you in a deeper way, and Holly and all of the friends that we get, that is really, to me, that sparks joy internally. That's profound.
It is.
It's almost spiritual.
No, it is spiritual.
When you meet like-minded souls that are wanting to lean into the same type of work that you're doing. And so when you say that, you're right. It's okay to experience joy even in the crisis of what life can bring.
We're supposed to.
Yeah.
Yes,
I love that you're
not be
saying
shameful of that.
Yes,
I think a lot of people beat themselves up. I remembered I went through this after my mom had passed, and there would be some days where I'd actually have a good day or a happy day, or I'd be laughing, and then I'd catch myself, and I'd almost check myself. Well, wait a second, your mother just died, and shouldn't you still be quote unquote, the shoulds? Shouldn't you be grieving? Shouldn't you be mourning? Well, guess what? I am grieving and I am mourning, but these are all the different phases and stages of that.
100%.
And it presents in so many different ways.
Right.
And we should never punish ourselves for a feeling and an emotion.
Yeah. I mean, I think that joy is one of the experiencing joy in the moment. I mean, just doing this today is joyful for me. Is also one of these, I think it's like a God gift, right? That life is hard.
Right.
But you know what?
Here's a nugget.
Here's a nugget.
Yeah.
You can do it. You can show up in joy. And it's authentic. We don't have to, you know what I mean? Be in, kind of force it.
Yes.
Like it can be authentic. Like I really feel a deep sense of joy and gratitude today.
Yeah.
Even while the truth is still happening.
Correct.
That there's things happening.
And I think it better enables you to handle the truth.
Yeah.
And to handle the toughness. I mean, my gosh, if we don't have any levity, if we don't have any breaks, please. It's like, I'm at the therapist door every day.
Totally.
Right?
Well, and I think that's where my humor comes in when you say that, because everyone's like, "Hi, I never would have anticipated that you're, as vulgar as you are, as crazy." And I'm like,
You're
"Well,
crazy."
I know." I go, "I think it's because I have to have it to cope.
It's
right?
your sanity, I think.
It's like the double bird
The
thing.
double bird.
I won't, do it. But we did a lot of double birding on the retreat.
You just did it when you wiped your face.
Yeah, a lot of double birding. And I think it was because I was like, we're getting so heavy.
Yes.
We were talking about these topics. And I'll never forget when the double bird came out, was this one lovely woman at the retreat was sharing a really profound story about her relationship with her father. And I was in my workshop and I just said, sometimes you just got to let go. And I think I might have said the F word and I did the double bird.
Right.
Well, the group that I was with left that session. Was like, well, what I learned at Elaine Turner's session was to just flip
the double, double
flip
bird.
them off.
And
I was like, no, it was much deeper. It was a much deeper talk. That was just the very end. I had to let go. Well, then everyone's double birding the whole retreat. And I thought, well, in some ways it is kind of the ultimate let go. Like, what are you going to do about it? You can't control them. Like, double bird.
Exactly.
So I do think my humor is a direct result of just, hey, look, it gets too heavy sometimes. You got to find the humor.
In fact, we all said, flip it off. Seriously. And we thought, because it was, Elaine, it was getting wild. Like 35 women double birding. So that meant 60 birds were flying at once. It was awesome.
We were double birding
the entire time. And everybody thought your new handbag line should have beautiful lining of double birds.
I haven't done that yet.
You need
but
to.
Give me a little time.
Okay.
We'll get some embroidered birds going.
They could be elegant birds.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
I know.
It
But
was
my humor
brilliant.
is a part of that joy of it's okay. It's even okay to laugh and right? Even when you're
it's more than okay.
Yeah,
It's a necessity.
It is.
Your life has taken a new turn. Yeah. Did you ever think, once you kind of closed up Elaine Turner and closed up the shops, did you ever think you'd reemerge again? Was it a part of the plan? Did you see it happening differently?
Oh gosh, that's such no.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it evolved slowly, and for sure over the past, I would say year and a half ish. It started to bubble up in me that maybe there was something left in me. And I think I also had realized, and I think you would relate to this, that, as much as I love some of this depth work that I do, and I do these workshops and I talk to women and as much as I love that and I'm really passionate about it, I also was really missing just my creativity of self-expression through fashion. I was really missing it. And my husband and I were lucky enough, grateful enough to spend about 6 months in Santa Fe. This is about almost 2 years ago, and just doing a lot of healing work. Marley had just left, and we just decided we needed space.
Check out.
We were really grieving deeply, and that is when I started to really have this idea of like, okay, how could I do this? Still use my gifts, but in a way that's sustainable, that I feel like that I could, relatively control, that wouldn't take me under, right?
Yep.
And so edit started kind of, and it's funny, edit, I think you'll appreciate this, is a deeper word for me because really I was editing my life in a lot of other ways.
Yeah.
I was really looking hard at my friendships. I was really looking hard at even the things that I owned. We even thought about selling our house and sort of editing back. We haven't done that yet, but we really were going through a deep excavation process of like, okay, what can we let go of that's no longer essential?
Serving us anymore.
And we're at this age and our kids are not here and my parents, I was really going through that. And so edit kind of crept up in me. I thought, well, maybe I could open a store that also reflects those ideas through fashion, where I curate in a really discerning way, lines that aren't really available in Houston. So I'm carrying a lot of European lines and do a very highly, I don't know what you want to call it, edited selection of fashion for women who want to just come in and see something that they feel like is selective, that they feel is beautiful, that they feel is somewhat accessible to them, that they can't find anywhere else. Because, I'm not going to compete with the big retailers. I can't carry the same lines they're carrying. Sure. So edit was sort of a product of even the deeper self-work that I'm like, I want to do a store that also reflects this, that she's getting a very edited selection from what I went out and searched and find, and hard to discover.
And how reflective of the Elaine now, which is wonderful. So it's your new creativity. Of course, my first question is, well, are you selling online?
What about e-commerce?
What about e-commerce, Elaine?
I don't want it, Park. And I hear you. Yes. So we launched an e-commerce site with it. And again, I've been very intentional about, I'm only selling the bags right now. But the goal is next year to add apparel to the site.
Good.
So right now it's the handbags online, and then the store has the handbags, apparel, and jewelry.
Fabulous.
So, but it'll evolve. The e-commerce, I just wanted to keep it really, manageable.
Yes.
But yes, I think we'll start adding the collections too.
Are the bags all your designs?
Yes.
I love that. Are you doing shoes anymore or just bags?
No, I'm just doing...
No more cork shoes?
I know.
Come
Cork
on.
everything. Don't worry, cork's coming back for spring. But no, right now I'm doing handbags. But, let's see how things go.
Sure.
If in a year I feel like I could handle the shoes, I could add a small selection of shoes. But I thought for now, I'm making the bags in New York. And I love the factory I'm working with, a family-owned factory. It's been around forever. And they're doing a really small, edited, capsule collection that is manageable. And then all the leathers are sourced in Italy. So it's really all about, it's not even so much anymore about the hardware and all the things that I used to do. It's really about the shape of the bag, the leather. I'm doing bonded suede lining in the bags. It's beautiful. And it's simplified. It's edited.
It's edited.
It's all about the edit.
It's
y'all.
about the edit.
Yeah. I'm going to say that over and over again. I'm kidding.
As well you should.
They're
It's
like,
called
we get
branding
it.
and marketing.
Yeah, I know. They're like, we get it. We get it. Hashtag edit.
How would you describe, so obviously there's been this big change in your personal style as well and what you're selling. So what would you say edit is? It's more simplified? Is it more elegant? Is it playful? How would you describe what you're curating?
I feel like edit is an upscale, advanced, contemporary story that I'm telling. But I think that from like a personal style aesthetic, I don't think it's a departure from my innate style, but I think it's probably a more edited selective version of that style. And so I'm really focusing on sort of effortless, subtle luxury. But I mean, there's still prints and color, but kind of looking at European collections, I'm doing a collection from Copenhagen. Actually, this dress is Dia Kudabal, she's known for her hand painted silks, 2 Italian lines, a Montreal line, one from Dubai. Wow. I'm just finding lines that I think really reflect this sort of idea of timeless elegance, but there's a twist. There's some detail on the cuff, or there's some, off the shoulder aspect that adds something unique, but in a real luxurious way, but still keeping it in that price point that's under like true luxury. So really looking at, that price point that's advanced contemporary, like a Veronica Beard price point, or, I'm not going into the, couture price points, but keeping it somewhat accessible to women. But I think that's how I would describe it, sort of an advanced upscale contemporary collection of hard to find European designers. And the bags are a reflection of that too. So very much classic, but also there's a twist going on.
Yeah.
Do
you find it hard? The competition is so fierce now with retail, and
it's so hard.
It's hard, right? And price points, and people are very budget minded.
Absolutely.
I've noticed a huge shift in just the things that I talk about, and women will say, we can't afford this.
Yes.
It's too much. Bring it down. Show us what we can find in this price point.
Yeah.
So I was curious as to how the economy was impacting maybe your decisions on what you brought in, how you price things.
And I honor that.
Yeah.
I do. I honor the reality of that. That women, there's only so much that we can put our money towards. I mean, we have our basic fundamental essentials of living, our food, our shelter, our security, our car payments, all of that. So I honor that there's only so much left. I think with edits, it's interesting that you mentioned that. My buy is very minimal, but yes, the ticket price isn't probably as accessible as even what I did with Elaine Turner before. And that also is a reflection of where our world has gone. Yeah. So manufacturing has gotten more expensive. The supply chain, everything has elevated, Dominique. Yes. Even,
including your rent for a space.
That's what and my construction costs.
Right.
We'll talk about that on another podcast. But,
no, bring it out right now.
So I want to hear that, because what I'm seeing, and it's only been open a month, is I'm seeing women come in, validating the quality that I'm presenting, but maybe walking out with one new piece. Right. So they're saying, look, I validate you, search and find, these are all unique, but before, I had one walking out with 3 clutches, a caftan. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm seeing what you're seeing. I'm seeing them be really mindful about their choices, but they're saying, look, I really think this is quality. I can wear this in multiple ways, versatility across my lifestyle, and I'll buy that one thing. And for me, it works because then, the ticket, it's like a good day for me.
Yes.
But I don't have to sell
as
15
much
of those dresses. And guess what? I own 3 of them, small, medium, large. So, so it works all the way around. So I think the way I'm doing that consciousness, that budget, is sort of saying, look, my buy reflects me being very conscious of that. And then the way she's engaging is reflecting in, I want something high quality, but I can't necessarily walk out with 10 items today.
Yes.
And that's okay. And so that's kind of how I'm budgeting the store and the revenue and all that. And so that's kind of what it looks like for me. Before, Dominique, I was going for more, it was high quality, but I was going for quantity. I had clutches under $200. And so I had women engaging in a much different way. They were saying, hey, I can grab 3 of these, and now that's not quite the case, but they're picking and choosing in a very discerning way, discriminating. And they should, you're right. We have to honor, and everything's become so damn expensive. If you walk outside, it's $50. Jesus Christ.
That's why I'm inside all the time.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. That's why we're in here. It's like you get in your car, you're like, it's $150.
I know.
And I'm like, what the?
Why am I going anywhere? I know. No, it's very expensive. And I was curious about that because, the timing of all of that. But sometimes it just takes bold leaps of faith. And not everything stays the same always. There are shifts and pivots in the economy, in our lives. And, some may say, well, this isn't the right economic environment to launch a new store, blah, 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 blah. But then you might have to flip them a double bird and say, but I feel like it's my time, right?
Look, I know. And, and I've had some feedback. It's been really cute. Women coming in like,
what?
why the hell are you doing this again? You know, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm like masochistic. I don't know. Like, I'm like looking for torture, but I agree with you that you get feedback, and they're being facetious, but I think what I've kind of sensed, and I was hopefully very intentional about my choice, is that I decided to open a 1,400 square foot store in the middle of my neighborhood, which is Tanglewood, which is a little west of here. And I felt like, look, there's not that much out there. Maybe I could provide a service to women who don't necessarily want to drive to the Galleria.
Yep.
You know, it's just not on their
Radar.
carpool line or what, you know, their track. And maybe they could pop in here and find something that they could wear to their charity event or their, you know, their dinner date or whatever, or even work. I'm carrying suits. I'm doing all of that. I'm trying to cater to the full spectrum. But I think that I was trying to be really intentional about, okay, the whole package has to be sustainable. I'm not going to go and sell my soul to some huge strip center where it's $100 square foot. Yep. I'm not going to, you know, get too much square footage that I can't fill it with enough. You know, I'm going to be really mindful about what I'm doing and hope that she shows up because it's on her path and she wants something that's quality and she wants to engage in the art of discovery with me. Yeah. And I also think I've seen a little bit of a rebound effect from COVID, which has been a really interesting thing to witness. Is that I think women are like, look, I'm always going to shop online. I mean, you and I'm going to be on Amazon. So you're never, I'm going to buy something off Nordstrom. I am, she should. But I do miss the intimate, tangible experience, the intimacy of talking to you, of looking at it, of holding it, of looking at the leather, of looking inside. I have heard a lot of
trying it on without a
feedback.
return.
Yeah, or even coming to a quick wine and cheese event at your store and talking to people again and engaging in beautiful things. And
what we're supposed to talk to each other.
Yes, but maybe doing that in a more responsible way than was done before, right? I get that. But doing it, there's still an aspect of wanting to stand beside another human being and really the eye contact, the feeling of the product, the education that we can, hey, that's from Italy. Let me tell you about it. Yep. And I am seeing that. And I'm not saying it'll ever go back to where it was when I started Elaine Turner the first time, but maybe there's a happy medium and maybe with the e-commerce side of it, it could all work together.
Sure.
So that was kind of what. But I agree with you. I think it's tough. I think retail's a really hard business to be in, and I like to do hard things. So I'm still doing it.
I'm glad that you accepted. You know, there are a lot of women who may be saying, I want to do hard things, Elaine. You know, I've got creativity. I've got ideas. How do I go about doing it? Because it's one thing to be creative, right? And this is something that I'm figuring out too. It's a whole other to be a businesswoman and to be an entrepreneur and to be self-starting, self-sufficient without being an employee. What would you say to a woman who says, you know, I'm at this place in midlife where I want to start something, but I'm being told all the reasons why I shouldn't.
Oh, and you're told constantly. Naysayers.
Yes.
It's a huge thing. I mean, I think that my advice to a woman that's looking to lean into a different phase or the second act is think about it in these really small steps. Sometimes I think when we go, it gets away from us and we think, oh, it has to be this, and this. And it doesn't. I think you can think about, this is what I want to do. How do I break this down into manageable steps? I mean, even just you guys sharing y'all's story, it kind of evolved, you and Courtney, to becoming, it took time. It was like you had to kind of break it down. It started here and then it went from here and then you had your life change. And I think the same for business. It's like, okay, what is it that I love to do? Let's say it's embroidery or, you know, you want to sell embroidered napkins. Let's just say that's it, which is a great thing. Well, how could I do that and start small? Well, what if you get on Instagram, you get your View shop up there, you have your embroidery machine at home, you start slowly selling through one little small Instagram shop, right?
Yep.
And you don't have staff, you don't have all this crazy, you don't have to even have an e-commerce site, really. You just have that one. And so how is it you could start? I think what women feel like is, oh, there's just no way. There's just no way. I could never do it. And yeah, if you try to do it all at once, maybe that's true. But how do you just take that small step, whatever it is that you're passionate about, to express yourself? And then all of a sudden you start seeing where that can take you, you know? And so I think that women get afraid. They get too they look too big too quick and think, well, there's just no way I couldn't capitalize it, or I couldn't run it, or I couldn't manage it. Well, maybe I think we're so lucky with the access we have to social from a business perspective.
Bingo. It has changed everything.
It's changed, even in 5 years.
Opportunity.
Yeah, in 5 years, like when I was doing Elaine Turner, they didn't have View Shop.
Yeah.
I mean, now I was like, oh, I could have really used that. That would have helped my e-commerce, right?
You bet it would have.
So I think for women, and I'm a big believer in e-commerce, so anything you can do digitally, I know I opened a store, but I have e-commerce too, but anything you can do digitally.
Yeah.
And then, what I see with these beautiful young designers, I don't know if you've seen this, is that they're all so talented. And now they do their own little market workshops. They do their own little, where they'll have like a sponsored area and they go show their wares.
Yeah, or these little pop-up shops.
The pop-up shops. They're doing it in their own way that's sustainable and affordable. And that's exactly what they should be doing.
Right.
And I think they're real successful too.
And there's so many more opportunities.
Yes.
Once upon a time, it was just brick and mortar.
That's it.
That's all you had.
Sell your soul to the landlord.
That's right. I mean, once upon a time, in order to be a broadcaster, you had to be hired by somebody in order to be. And now everybody's a broadcaster. You want in? Have at it.
You're so right.
It's a blast.
Yeah, no, you're right. Everybody's a broadcaster.
Yes, but now everybody can sell stuff.
Don't you think?
Yes. So while we kind of bash it on one end,
I know. Here we are. We're like, actually, y'all, it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. What is it? Don't
We're
bite
full
the hand
of
that feeds you.
contradictions. Well, everybody is.
Welcome to middle age.
Yeah, it's both those things. Though.
Yes, but it's all of those things.
Yes,
and you can extrapolate the good in anything, and you can also find the bad in anything.
I totally agree.
What are you going to choose to focus on?
I know. Like, where are you going to put your lens? Where are you going to put your focus, your priorities? And so I guess that would be my advice to her, is just start small, start sustainable, give yourself grace, put yourself out there and see where it takes you.
Yeah. Well, those are amazing words to end on. And oh my gosh, I'm so glad to have you. You are an inspiration. I think so many people will be able to see themselves in your story. And I personally pray for you as you journey through what is happening with both mom and dad. And I know it's been a very excruciatingly painful walk.
Yes.
And I'm sorry about that. As a friend, I'm here and you know it.
Yes.
And
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I just appreciate you. Thank you for sharing. And I think you touched more than one person today.
I hope so, because that's my goal. One woman to know she's enough.
Yeah. She
regardless
is worthy
of anything.
Amen, sister.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Dominique.
Thank you. She is so awesome and so wickedly funny. I'm sure you got a little taste of that, but she has all of us rolling whenever we're together. And I think it is great to surround yourself with wise people, but also humor. As we were saying in our conversation earlier, sometimes you're just going through the mud, but my gosh, a good laugh can absolutely save you. So I hope that you are surrounding yourself with people who bring you joy. I hope you're inspired by watching and listening to what you hear on this podcast and on this platform. The whole reason why I'm here is for us to flourish and to live our best lives in midlife, but also to have real conversations about what's going on in midlife. It's not easy. We have to dig in our heels sometimes. It can be ugly, it can be gritty, it can most certainly be hard, but at the same time, it can be exceptionally beautiful. And that's what I want you to feel. Please remember, if you are enjoying this content, to rate, review, subscribe, and share me with those that you love. All those things are so important. If you watch on YouTube, again, the comment section is where we look for future ideas. If you have any thoughts or ideas about what you'd like to see here on this podcast, please let me know. We'll try to get through all of those. Comment if you have a question for us. But we so greatly appreciate you being here. Till next week on Over 50 and Flourishing.
I've always been on a mission to find ways to make healthy habits just a little bit easier. And one of the habits I've really been focusing on lately is staying hydrated. I mean, we all know that water is vital for our health, with about 60% of our bodies being made up of it. But here's the thing. I have never been a huge fan of tap water. Maybe it's the unknowns, the what ifs, or just a lack of trust. And well, it turns out I'm not alone here. According to the Environmental Working Group, 3 out of 4 homes in America have harmful contaminants lurking in their tap water. That is a pretty sobering thought, especially when you're trying to build healthier habits for yourself and your family. Let me tell you, AquaTrue has really changed things in my household. Their purifiers use a stage 4 reverse osmosis process, removing a whopping 15 times more contaminants than those ordinary pitcher filters. And here's the real kicker: no installation or plumbing required. How convenient is that? Okay, so here are a few key points really that resonated with me, and I think they will with you as well. Firstly, PFAS, those forever chemicals found in almost 45% of U.S. tap water. AquaTrue is certified to kick those contaminants to the curb, providing you with water that is truly pure and safe. Their technology is independently tested to remove more than 80 of the nastiest contaminants. We're talking about things like chlorine, fluoride, arsenic, nitrate, and so much more. And let's talk about those filters. They last from 6 months to 2 years, so no more frequent replacements. Just one set of filters from AquaTrue's classic purifier makes the equivalent of 4,500 bottles of water. 4,500! Imagine the environmental impact you're making while saving yourself some major cash. Personally, I've noticed a few benefits in my life that I'd like to share. I can actually taste the difference compared to my old water filter. And by the way, my tea and my coffee, yeah, they taste so much better too. And you know what's even better? We love our pets. Why give them tap water? Oscar, he's enjoying the AquaTrue water as well. Delivery, by the way, right to my doorstep, a breeze, and setting it up, a piece of cake. No more worries about tap water. I know it's not just filtered, it is purified with AquaTrue. AquaTrue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and even makes for a great gift. Today, my listeners will receive 20% off any AquaTrue purifier. All you have to do is go to aquatrue.com, that's AQUATRU.com, and enter code OVER50 at checkout. That's 20% off any AquaTrue water purifier when you go to aquatrue.com and use code OVER50.